discount on the Sustain package because we're not doing a community event, because I see in your packages here that you should have you should have a video community event and a same-day live community event as part of the Sustain package, but then your Sustain package that you're proposing here says no community event. First of all, what's a community event? And secondly, why aren't we getting one? Or
So we are getting a community event, and that's why I was kind of confused by the wording, so that's something that we are looking into. Because there is a huge, the second day, so, the second day there is a big community event, and that's where Daryl Scott is coming in, and he is going to speak to the entire community, and everyone is welcome to attend that event.
So then this, Sustain package, no community event included in package is actually an error?
No, I think they separated Daryl as its own thing, because he has a separate,
So we get
pricing.
everything else here except for that.
so yeah, so he's out there.
I
But
see.
So it's in a
that's
separate
what we got.
category.
So,
That's why
okay,
the way
so
it's
that's
broken
good.
down.
Also, your data-driven evidence here for your reductions, did everybody look at that? That's,
I don't know that everybody
This
here
is
has
old
a big
data.
one.
in my opinion, but it's very good old data. 47% reduction in disciplinary referrals. So my dissertation is on workplace incivility. This is really important, what you guys are proposing to do. Will stay with our kids in their future and make them better workers. I am behind that. I think this is a fantastic idea. The cost is a little high, but the data, you can't beat the data. And it's 2014 was when they did this assessment. So I'm wondering if you can find out when they plan to do another assessment, because they really should do it every 2 years.
Yeah.
So maybe they did one and it's just not available to us, but that would be good to have as well. But the data is fantastic. 84% reduction in disciplinary referrals in Texas. 47% reduction in disciplinary referrals in Washington. 53% reduction in disciplinary referrals in Georgia. Are you kidding me? This is fantastic, you guys.
Are we gonna be collecting our own? I would just leave it.
Well, this is a study that they did.
I mean, yeah.
I know, but like, anyway, are we gonna,
No,
You
I
have
would
to
be
give
interested
it-
to know that too, if it really works.
if it, what,
And
has
see
more?
South, Central, North, the high school, and see if these numbers are true, cause I read some reviews online after going through the contract. I have heard mixed reviews, good, bad,
Yeah.
waste of time, waste of money.
But this is Mancova, so this is an actual data analysis that they did, which means that they ran the numbers before and then they ran the numbers after and then compared them. So that analysis was done, that, you can't dispute those kinds of, that kind of data in this school. So these are obviously isolated, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we could do that too, we could run our own.
Yeah, you could.
This
You
is
have
part
to
of
do
it.
it
And
after a certain amount
And
of
just so
time.
you know
though.
too, it's a tiered system, that's why the presentations are different for different age groups, because, the high school the high school presentation is not something that is appropriate for, 5th and 6th graders.
Right,
The
yeah.
maturity level, and so, I think there's also, I think there may also be some differences in what different age groups takeaway is, because some of the more impactful things that that are older students are gonna be able to experience are a little too much to bring into a
Right.
younger middle
So
school.
then,
I mean-
the Sustain package that includes the community event with Daryl Scott. So that's a community event. So is the material that he's presenting in the community appropriate for all people who are coming?
I think, no, the community event is basically the high school presentation. And when they say high school, they give the same presentation to 7th through 12th grade.
Okay.
But in elementary school, they use different words words and they don't, and overall, he doesn't dwell on the event, the incident that,
Right.
you know, triggered the whole thing. But they still touch on it differently
Right,
with
with the
elementary
inclusivity.
kids versus 7th through 12th graders. So really, we wouldn't have, it's not really something for the adults, you know, the parents to bring their K through 4 kids to that
Okay.
night. This is for
Right.
the parents, I wanna pack as many, you know, adults into wherever the high school, wherever we're gonna do it. And the one thing I would say about the mixed reviews, I mean, in here it has a 98+% approval rating. I guess the people they presented to. I'd be interested to know if those people that gave the review, which program did they get? Did they just get the presentation and then didn't do anything with it? Because then, yeah, I mean, you know, then I would say that they probably didn't get much from it beyond the presentation. But, you know, for us, we have the 2 days and most of our students in the school, or greater than half, I guess I should say, of our students that are gonna be seeing it. You have no idea what they did
So
or
you don't know
what they
yet
did
if
with
you're
it.
doing 5th and 6th, so I see you have 3, elementary,
Mhm.
which focuses basically on kindness and inclusivity, if we're gonna like cut to the quick. Then you got the 5th and 6th grade, which is your story presentation, and then there's the challenge presentation. And we know we're definitely doing the challenge presentation as part of the package. But you're not sure yet about elementary or versus 5th and 6th?
I
or-
think
Based on numbers, what we're trying to do is do 5 through 12.
Dr.
Five,
Price has.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
as we started laying out this schedule, Dr. Bolton and I were looking at this. One of the days, again, it doesn't matter which day, we'll just pick days, March 12th, let's say, definitely grades 6, 7, and 8, and we're looking at ways to possibly get the 5th graders there. And the next day, the 2 trainings would be 9 to 12, and they'd just be broken up in 2 different groups, probably 9 and 11 and 10 and 12. So 6 to 12 for sure. 5th, we're looking at that plan. It would be a very packed, every seat full auditorium if we could bus those students up here and do that. But 6 to 12 for sure. So there would be 2 presentations each day, age appropriate, and then that second day of the evening would be the parent presentation.
But definitely we're not doing the elementary.
Not younger than,
Okay.
no.
Not younger than grade 5,
And
correct?
it's good to know that they do it.
Well, and we
Maybe
felt
like
like,
it in the future.
yeah, like the middle school, I think, and the elementary school, each elementary school has its own, SHWEBs, whatever, you know, this school-wide positive, thing, and again, money, you know, I would,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
I get it.
we wanted every student in the school district to see it, but then when you start thinking about, well, you have to make some choices, and,
Mhm.
you know, this is,
And there's not, you know, the difference between the things that we're already doing at the
Yeah, the
younger level
elementary.
compared to what they're doing, because they can't really get into the things that they can get into at the older levels. I don't think it's as worth it as them seeing it later when they're older. But the other thing I'd like to, and maybe Dr. Price remembers, but we did you know, they have those studies that are done on a regular basis with our students, and they complete these certain, I think it is the PACE survey, but there was, one of the questions on there was how many of you have contemplated committing suicide? And it was staggering to me. I was shocked to see the numbers, because I think, and I'd have to look at it again, but I think it was 42%. It was high. It's sticking, 42% is sticking in my head. I'd have to double check the numbers. But I remember the number being so high that it almost took my breath away, that many kids would say that they've considered, you know, being in that position, and how are we helping those kids? And, you know, I think this is a good way to try to help, you know, help kids who are struggling, so.
So this is only for 5th grade and on then?
Correct.
Okay.
and with the kids, they bring in, you have 100 kids come in to get the training. And of course, I assume Dr. Bolton, he's on vacation, but we were thinking of having a few maybe from the middle school, the older middle school ones to come, so that, you know, they'll bridge the gap. And focus on the kids who are maybe like 10th and 11th grade, so that you have leaders for subsequent years. And another interesting thing that the Rachel's Challenge group will tell you is we want 100 kids, but we don't want 100, it's 100 kids of all different types, of all different places in their behavioral, whatever, spectrum, whatever you want to call it. But basically because they feel that there's value in taking a kid who you might not think, oh, there's a student that ought to be invited to be a leader in something like this, but it turns out to be something that's very, consequential for their life. It has a big impact on it for them to be chosen as a leader. We heard from the letters that kids wrote about it when they take it upon themselves. It changes you. It changes your perspective when you're focusing on just doing something positive instead of your problems.
Have we looked at other programs?
There's nothing. I knew that this question, like people would ask, well, isn't this just another anti-bullying? And it's really not. And I struggle with the way to explain it. I can't explain it. But I was thinking about it, like what analogy? And all I could think of that came to mind is like, I don't know what the Coke formula is that makes Coke taste so good, but I know it's better than Pepsi. But I can't put my finger on it. The best way I can describe it is that this flips it. This is not outside in, this is inside out. And it's not top down from, school administration down to the kids. It's the kids driving, what did Peter, the regional director, he said it's their want to. It gives them a want to, a reason to do something because they're driven to do it. And we have all those other things. Everything else we have in SEL, they're great things, but they're all outside in, top down things. It's not student.
And there's so many examples out there. We talked about Rachel's Closet, but the different school, it's the kids. They come up with, they take this to a whole nother level on their own. It's initiated by the students, and so the different examples of what different kids have done in different districts, and it's interesting to see what the kids come up with, and the training. So that you're going to have the professional development for the teachers. Well, that doesn't go away, right? So if we have once the kids go through and graduate, and then our younger kids come up, and then if we come back and have a presentation again, you don't need the professional development piece, the training piece. Now you've already had that in place. Now they know how to do the trainings, and now they can help to do those trainings on their own rather than it being initiated by them. So a lot of this then sets the stage for later and carrying that through.
There's
what
a lot
other
of
presentations that we did before then?
I'm sorry?
What did we do else instead of this, what did we do before?
I don't think we've done.
We haven't done anything of this kind, but what we're doing right now for social and emotional learning, like they'll have, can't think of what they call it in the middle school. But Dr. Price, what do they call that?
The mentoring that they're doing?
Well, not mentoring, it's the little groups that they have, and they call them something, I can't think of the term, where they get together and they talk about things, but a lot of the focus is focusing on bullying behavior and how to talk to a bully, or relate to a bully, or understand a bully. Well, at some point, you can only do so much to change another person's behavior. This gives you the power to, the other person's behavior doesn't really mean as much because you have a way of just impacting the world the way that you want it without relying on another person to change the behavior. And by putting it in their hands, there's also an element of self-worth to that. When you give someone, tell them, look, you can do this. You can have a positive impact on your world. It's very empowering, and it will improve their sense of self-worth. It's, when people have work to do, they feel valuable, they feel a sense of self-worth, and this is putting it in their hands instead of making them feel helpless, like they're just at the mercy of whatever's happening in the world around them. They are not at the mercy of anyone.
And when you have, this had a traumatic impact, I think, on all of the adults that were in that room. And so if it can have that much of an impact on adults, I think of how much of an impact that could have had on, us when we were high school students. You've got a room full of administrators and school board members, and I'm telling you, there was not a dry eye in that entire room. We were all get the trainings and the
Well, no, we
professional
get the training, but I
development and
think,
the,
I didn't know until the other day that you said that you weren't even going to go. And I had to tell you, when I saw it on the description of all the sessions, I was like,
It didn't, it didn't
It's like,
appeal,
okay.
it didn't look
It's
as
gonna be
appealing,
another
that session didn't look as
boy,
appealing
was
on
I
paper.
wrong.
It's one of those things, you have to see it, so.
And then another thing to point out, like Megan just brought up, the impact that it had on adults. They tell you to make sure you have your presentation earlier in the week so that you have some school days between the time people see the presentation and the time they don't have it on a Friday and have people go home for a weekend. And they said not just for the children, but adults in the building will go to the guidance department, will go to people to talk about, because it brings things up even in the adults' lives that they want to talk about. And so
Is it a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday?
I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh,
Or
good.
is it a Monday?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So, I mean, I think it's really hard, it's really hard, I think, when we look at these, words that just say kindness and compassion. And when we look at, well, let's pay a lot of money to teach our kids how to be kind, and we can easily go, well, that's a lot of money to, do things that we should already be doing. But I think what your program touches on is diversity, but that's great. But inclusivity, sounds like, is a big theme. But the kindness and compassion is not something you normally would get in a program, so that's an added element, really. And then it also sounds to me like they're teaching self-actualization,
Yeah.
which is a huge deal, because you can't really, you can teach your kids to be nice to each other, but then they gotta be able to practice it, and or otherwise, teach your kids how to include, or how to, hey, Mrs. Walters, how you doing? Something simple like that, but if they don't have opportunity to implement it and they aren't expected to actually do that, then you're spending money on something that doesn't make sense. This program sounds to me like they thought of that component and are even telling you when to schedule it so that the kids can practice it. I think it sounds like a solid program. You're very curious about this Friends of Rachel Club, what that entails,
That's-
It being ongoing, just like any other club in the high school, and
so
they would decide
What they
whatever
do.
they would do.
Yeah, it's student, that's the piece that we were talking about, where it's
Completely
initiated by the
student.
students, and they
Right.
take it in their own direction.
So they can really do anything with a club.
Mhm. And look at the website on the blog and just see the different examples of what they've
I
done.
just think that's
Sorry,
so
we're taking a lot of time, Sean.
So, it is a lot of money though for the program. It is. Let's not, we can't kid ourselves. It's a lot of money, but it's,
Well,
I
we
think
also
when
think
you-
about what the cost is for one presentation,
Yeah, one
and you're
assembly,
talking
that's
about
true.
2 full days and a
$2,000.
night.
True.
You're talking
That's
about
true.
2 full days and a night,
And
and
the
it's including the
impact.
training, the professional development, 5 presentations. I mean,
And
that's
the number of
that's
buildings
substantial.
that
other
you
try to
try
divide that up by
other
cost.
presentations that you've had in the past, did they give you this amount of data?
I don't
Wow.
remember seeing
I was
data
gonna
like
say,
that.
that's
I mean, I just
actually
know
good.
the cost of assemblies for a single elementary school to do something simple, even like having one of the days having the drummer,
It's like
or
free.
having an author come in for a book event. That's not cheap.
No.
And
not.
you're multiplying that by, so
Right.
we're getting our 3 middle schools, the high school, and the community, all boom, done.
It is
And for that price,
expensive, but I think
it's,
what
it's a
you're
good
saying,
value,
the
though.
value for
the
the.
price is high, but the value is it's a solid value, is what I would say.
Well, I'm on board.
Okay.
So is everyone okay with moving this forward?
I am very.
I would like to see other comparisons for it as well. Like when you're talking about other programs, say that we would spend as much or something like that, I would like to see, just because then I can ease.
I don't know what other programs
Yeah, we
compare
don't
to
have
this, so I'm not sure what you.
Well, you're telling me that like
Or
when,
you're just saying with another assembly,
Yeah,
like
like
when
when
you're
you're
telling me
talking-
that you're spending this much money on other programs in the school already, to kind of compare apples to apples, or.
Dr. Price, would you be able to get, some
Yeah.
examples of
Just to
different
pull
presentations that were
last
happening?
X number of assemblies, what those prices were type.
Yeah.
Or
Because
it's,
you're right,
you
we
know,
won't find this similar, but
But
there
at
was
least that would-
a speaker that talked about bullying or something, what was the cost and how long was the presentation? We could pull
Right,
stuff
and
like
then
that.
that could help, cause you could multiply that by 5 or whatever, to even see how many presentations you're getting from that many students, cause obviously you can't. Usually those things are in one building, and you're not doing all of the
True.
students at once.
True, and they aren't they included, and they're not including parents,
Well, no,
Right.
of course not.
So that would be,
so then there's that ability, so.
And that's another thing, it's one of the, well, this is sort of pulling in like the PCEF, or Community Education Foundation. One of the ideas, am I allowed to share ideas, Joe?
Absolutely.
So, one of the ideas is having a speaker series, and, well, you know, our hope is that, like, the school district could sponsor one, and then maybe, you know, an outside partner could, and then maybe, Education Foundation funds, you know, we would have enough to sponsor one. So in my mind, this is the school district's, sponsoring of a community event, where you would have everybody, open to every single person to come in the community to see it, so. And those would be a good amount of money to have someone come in and give a community event, so. It's, I think it's comprehensive, it's so comprehensive, bringing so many, the program to so many people that, I don't know, to just say, well, it's not like the cost of another assembly, because it's not another
and
assembly.
I would encourage everyone,
I'm
tell
telling you.
everyone you
Tell
know
everyone you
that
know.
it's important to be there, and if they're, you know, and I would say,
It's a meeting that.
I dare you to
highest
come to me
priority.
afterwards and tell me
Yeah.
that it was not worth your time and that you wish you didn't
I'm
go,
gonna be
because I
watching
think-
to see
I
if we
think-
have tissues.
Maybe we should take donations of tissues.
Well, donations of, I was gonna say, I wasn't kidding, like, I was thinking if, you know, if the funding doesn't come from the school district, I looked into asking the county to fund it,
Well,
when we were
there's
gonna
an
have all the county, well, I already,
And drive
so,
out.
yeah, we can, so, but I thought, you know what, I'll just go to people and ask them to make a donation to help defer diffuse the cost of it, but, all options, we can ask for a free will donation.
My
No,
only
you
concern is with the contract where it says it doesn't provide a community, presentation, and I think it should probably say that in the contract.
We can,
Yeah,
in
we'll
the
have to
contract,
change
you
it.
can fix
A
that
little
language
more-
a little bit, so it's,
I agree.
So we know exactly what we're getting.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
actually part of the Daryl Scott keynote, that's the public
yeah, that's-
presentation.
Right,
That's why it says that the sustain package does not include one, because it's in the Daryl Scott. So it's in this item here, at the
Yeah.
third
Yeah,
item.
they removed it from,
Right.
the only thing
Can it be
removed was the
clarified?
scene pack.
Can that just be clarified, because I don't, are we allowed to just change that, just say that's because, what you just
Yeah,
said,
like
can you
to
write that?
put an asterisk as to why it's not
Yeah,
there.
I know, you know.
I mean, in their defense, we really did cobble together, you know, we came at them, we're like, well, we want all of our kids to see it, and this is how we wanna do it, like, I don't think they've ever had anybody approach them the way that
we did.
approach them.
We
You
did.
know, because we were like, we want, let's see, we've got 7,300 students,
Well,
everyone.
what we're trying to do is get our, you know, we're
Get
trying to
the
get our money's
most
worth, we're
people.
trying to get,
Well,
we're
if
trying
we're
to,
gonna
in
get
that
our money's
presentation, be able to
worth-
get as many people as we can in to see that presentation and as much as we could for the best deal. And so that's why we
Yeah.
were finagling it and trying to figure out the best way to do that would have the best
Well,
impact.
if we're gonna get our money's worth, I want results like this, so if we're gonna approve this, I want survey the kids before, survey the kids after, survey the kids in 6 months. I wanna see our own data to see if it was worth our